A man desires an ordinary existence, but his past is not good. It won't. Let him live in peace while we witness how this man battles his personal demons. Welcome to Movie Moment Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2017 action thriller film John Wick Chapter 2. It's time to recap. Let's get started. The film begins with John Wick taking part in a chase after his pilfered Ford Mustang from the brother of Abram Tarasov. In contrast, late Vigor Tarasov promptly tells his men to get ready to confront one of his goons, John, who appears overconfident, denigrates John, claiming that he can manage him. On his own, he asks Abram whether they are selling all you own to buy an automobile. Then, he is informed by Tarasov that it's not only it's John Wick's vehicle, and he then advises his supervisor to simply give John. The boss goes on to explain the vehicle. What type of man they are genuinely interacting with, stating that John Wick killed dozens of his men, his nephew, and his brother, the henchman, over his car and a dog. Then recommends that they get rid of John. At which point he learns that John Wick is a man of determination, devotion, and focus. He once used a pencil to kill 3 persons. Tarasov makes it rather evident that they are not discussing a typical. Here, they are discussing John Wick as a killer. Also, the term ordinary does not. John, that man, informs his soldiers, greatly regarded in the realm of crime because to his strength and perseverance. Conversely, John discovers where his Ford Mustang was and goes to Tarasov's house quickly and paralyzes every one of Tarasov's men in a brutal rage and ultimately causes harm to his favorite vehicle. But John decides not to kill Tarasov because he agrees to refrain from interfering with John's living in the future. John consents to the peace accord and John goes back home and then reimburses all the items that take him back to his former life. His goal as a hitman is to live again as a regular man who has lost his wife following the passing of his wife. A few days later, Aurelio arrives at his house, was contacted to fix his Ford Mustang. He examines the vehicle and remarks that it will require some time to repair this thing. In the evening, John is visited by Comorra crime boss Santino D'Antonio. He asks John to return to his bold life and offers him a job as well. Santino reminds John that he was the one who helped John complete his impossible task, which allowed John to retire and marry Helen. In return, John swore to a marker, an unbreakable vow symbolized by a blood oath medallion. Santino presents the marker to demand services from John. The Santino family is a tyrannical mafia family because Santino's father is a big deal in the crime world. He is a high-table member, a council of 12 high-level crime bosses who oversee all the continental hotels around the world. Despite these factors, John is not moved. He claims that he has made the decision to relocate, moving forward from his former life, and rejects the offer right away. The Santino finds rejection upsetting as he makes an assault to demolish. Using a grenade launcher at John's house, John finds a way to endure the attack without a place to reside. John leaves, visit the Manhattan Continental Hotel. John then goes for assistance with his dog and guidance from Winston, who serves as a reminder. Should he decline the marker, he will breach of 2 unbreakable rules of there are no deaths on continental grounds and paying tribute to each marker. John understands he has no other option, thus he grudgingly yields to his dedication and visits Santino. Santino discusses business without wasting any time. He immediately requests that John kill his sister Gianna. Santino feels jealous of his sister, as she is expected to be at the top table as Santino's dad evaluates her better deserving of the role following after her father, Santino. Because he wants to, Santino wants her dead. Take a place at the head table. John consents to the assignment, and Santo designates Eris as his bodyguard to maintain, keeping a watch on John and seeing how he does. Regarding the assignment, John visits the storage facility, retrieves a portion of his possessions, travels to Rome, and stays at the Continental Hotel's branch in Rome, and receives a hearty welcome from Julie, a overseer of the hotel. After that, John visits a tailor that is committed to designing assassins. Bulletproof attire to assist in the task, John is now in the criminal underground. Must be aware of Jonna's location, therefore he visits a man to obtain a map of her location so that it's simpler for him to understand the several entrances and exits from the location where she is at. John visits a store in search of some weapons. Ordinary gun store. It appears that the store owner is quite acquainted with John Wick, the legend, and is aware of kind of weapons that are appropriate for him to fulfill his mission. In the evening, John sneaks into Jonna's confirmation for her position at the top, confronts her at a dressing table chamber with a high chance of death. Gianna decides to cut her own throat to end her life. John shoots her wrists as Gianna passes away. To complete the marker, hit her in the head. After completing his task, John is departing the area as soon as Jonas Cashin, a bodyguard, notices John and instantly identifies him. He determines, discovering that John was dispatched to kill, Gianna Cashin assaults him right away, and they get into a gunfight. John is capable of escaping Cashin and his, after that, henchmen hide in the tombs, where Ares betrays him by deceiving him. Woman Santino assigned to observe on John. She and his goons are planning to close the book by murdering John after taking out the majority of John's goons. Pursuing Cashin once more, he once more receives engaged in a gunfight to the death with Casey and his soldiers, transporting them to the Continental Hotel's lobby, which is comparable to the New York Continental, forbids carrying out any business activity on its grounds. John and Cashin end their argument to observe the guidelines set forth by both hotels, then proceed to the bar and share a beverage. John informs Cassie at this point in the rationale behind his Gianna murder, even when one is aware that Santino is the one. The reason Gianna Cashin still died, declares that he will kill John, but he assures John that he will give him a prompt, dying out of professional deference. When John arrives at his room, he gets a call from Santino, informs John that he comprehends. If John expresses his anger and claims to be conscious that what he had just done to him could feel intimate, Santino continues to remark on the type of man he would be if didn't get even with his sister. At this point, John becomes enraged and hangs up the phone. The following day, John gets ready to go the Continental Hotel in Rome and arranges on the route back to New York City. Santino, nonetheless, initiates a $7 million contract to murder John Wick while pretending to getting even with his sister. The deal is dispersed to all the prominent. There are many assassins in the world today. Are drawn to the extremely high contract value. Santino meets with Winston, who asks for a blood oath from Santino, who indicates that John has fulfilled his commitment and is no longer bound by an oath with Santino. This is when Santino tells him that there is no need to do that because John is going to be killed. Upon his arrival in New York, Winston continues by alerting Santino of his mistake, a grave error. He has deceived John and is. It wouldn't be wise to mess with Winston. Claims to have stabbed Santino devil behind his back and compelled him to. He informs him about the life he had just left, that John no longer has the marker on him and he intends to return and exact revenge on playing tricks on him. Santino is constantly informed and cautioned that he will now accept the repercussions of your mistakes, John Wick. Yet it appears that he still doesn't be influenced by the caution. He appears confident that John won't be able to get close to him and he's not going to be capable of killing him. John, however, shows up in a New York City where he is welcomed with warmth, with assassins' bullets attempting to assert $7 million. The man is under constant duress assault as he moves through the streets of New York. John is a well-known individual assassin, hence attempting to murder him does not prove to be a piece of cake for the remaining killers as well. He finds it difficult to manage a fat However, he is able to shoot him in a subway attack on his head station. Although he succeeds in killing the murderer holding a pencil, he goes on strolling through the metro where he is. When faced with Cashin once more, they take part in a gunfight using silencers in the throng to avoid creating mayhem, to then engage in a physical altercation. Battling viciously, John is able to use a knife to stab Cashin in the aorta. Knife, leaving John's destiny unknown. Himself sustains severe injuries and discovers he sees a beggar and realizes he needs aid, and asks him for assistance, providing him a gold coin. The beggar lends him a hand because he is capable of removing himself from there. John continues as he still needs assistance. Encounter a boss of underground crime who is referred to as the Bowery King. John's injuries are treated by King's man, then requests assistance from the Bowery King. Finds Santino's location. He inquired him to employ his covert connections to discover Santino's whereabouts and requests his weapons as well. John raises an important point when he says that should Santino be able to secure a seat at the royal table, followed by the Bowery King, be forced out of office and he will forfeit. John advises him based on his resources that if this occurs, Bowery King will not exist, capable in managing his covert networks. At this point, the Bowery King becomes aware that John has raised important arguments. He begins to consider it. The Bowery King is fascinated by John's plan to murder a member of the Bowery King's high table, chooses to assist him and provides him with a gun holding just 7 rounds, one for each. 1 million of the agreements, and oversees John to a gallery where Santino is holding a spectacular. John is currently precarious following obtaining a gun with just 7 rounds, and details regarding Santino's location. John heads straight to the museum and begins destroying Santino's troops. John follows Santino around the museum, where he eliminates his last henchman. But Santino is fortunate in that he's silent when the security enforcer arrives. Santino succeeds in getting out from there. John eliminates the other henchmen quickly. Once John killed every one of them, he then encounters Ares face to face, and the pair fight each other hand to hand, had a bloody altercation, and John ultimately results in the woman's death. While these two are battling, Santino prevails to flee to the continent, from which he plans to stay in a shelter. Should you guys keep in mind that there's a regulation that says no killing may occur within the Santino Continental is certain that he's likely to be secure within the Continental, and John won't make it there, and as long as he's there, murder him. John makes it to the Continental eventually and queries Sharon about where John, as Santino, has experienced a lot. Over the past few days, he has been coated in blood and injuries, yet he seems to be resolute and dedicated to achieving completed the way he currently desires. Karen does not wish to be the one receiving John's fury, so he informs him of where, at the Continental, Santino is. Santino Winston John's lounge opens up thereafter. Observing John moving in their direction, Winston tells John not to kill people in a brazen manner. If he does, Santino will be in the Continental. Thus, he will have to deal with the repercussions. Yet, Santino appears to be incredibly. The man is eating calmly and enjoying his food. He is absolutely certain that John wants to murder him, but he's not going to in the Continental Lounge to murder him. Conversely, John is tired of Santino has experienced because of all the people, Santino is the one who demolished his home and made him return to the life he had previously left behind. Therefore, John replies, at this juncture, enough is sufficient, and without considering he fully disregards the cautions of murder Santino. Following his murder of Santino, John exits. He immediately leaves for his former home and remembers the moments he spent with his late spouse while they were visiting the home. He remembers having many lovely memory of the lovely time he had. The following day, there with his devoted wife. Sharon arrives and shows John to meet Winston at the park since John has violated the Continental regulations. It's now time to accept the consequences. Winston informs him that in light of the high table the contract's worth to kill John has been offered twice as much worldwide as an additional result of murdering Santino for reasons of continentality. According to Winston, John the 10th communicating, removing him from all access and advantages to resources in the underworld. John explains to him that everyone in their vicinity there is an assassin who is prepared right now to murder John, but Winston hesitates, declaring that one of John's excommunication are to help him get going and gives him a benchmark for the future. Use John, who proceeds to inform Winston to inform them to inform everyone who arrives. Whoever it is, he intends to murder them, destroy them all, as Winston states in reference to. Of course you will once John departs, calling with his dog in tow, executing John's prohibition to be triggered in an hour since the agreement is turned on and mobile phones start to ring surrounding him. John starts to flee. The recap concludes here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe the bell symbol to receive fresh movie recap.